Welcome to the City Show. I'm your host, John Zemkes. On our first segment, we have two guests representing the John McLean Advisory Council. We have Tammy Webb from the Optimist Club and Vice President of the Council, Laura Snicker.
Yes.
Laura, I am familiar with John McLean from the Historical Society. Mm-hmm. He is part of the triumvirate of political power prior to the Civil War with Tom Corwin and Jeremiah Morrow and, of course, John McLean. He had quite a number of different positions. His father helped map out the town of the community, I should say, of Ridgeville, and he was a lawyer, founder of the Western Star here in Lebanon. And he also was a congressman and a member of the Ohio Supreme Court, and for 32 years on the U.S. Supreme Court. And I just recently found out that he was number 11 on the list of longest serving, but he'd just been surpassed by Clarence, what's his name? Clarence.
Clarence Thomas.
Clarence, thank you very much, Clarence Thomas, who now beat him by a month or so. But what is the John McLean Advisory Council, and why is it named after him?
Sure. Well, it's been in existence since 1985, and as you said, John McLean has a list of accomplishments. And we've really considered him from Warren County. He wasn't born and raised here. He did come here as a child with his parents to Warren County. But ever since then, as you mentioned, he created the Western Star newspaper and was the publisher of that before he went on and pursued his career in law. But to honor him, back in 1985, they created this council. John McLean was always about equality and representing those that were a little bit less fortunate, and I think he used the term downtrodden quite a bit. So I think that is probably what the premise was behind when the bylaws and this corporation and council was started, that the whole goal and the mission of the council is to serve those a little bit less fortunate or those that are a little bit downtrodden. So our council primarily works with kids that are dependent, neglected, needy, have some delinquency issues going on, have histories coming through with the Warren County Juvenile Court. And with those, present some opportunities because a lot of these youth are facing challenges in their life. So with this council, we receive different requests throughout the year to help with program and services, expenditures and funding requests to try to get those kids back up on their feet, help them overcome some barriers that they have. The exciting part is that it's all families of Warren County. So day in and day out, we're working with kids that are all here in Warren County.
Who makes these requests or referrals?
Anybody out in the community, really. As I said, the families and youth come through Warren County Juvenile Court, so that's typically where the requests start. So we collaborate with the court and different members of the court throughout the year on these requests. So they can come from a family member, they can come through probation officers or different case managers that are working with families and youth through the court system.
Now, do they necessarily have to have been in trouble and be part of JDC or Mary Haven to be part of the program?
Not necessarily. A lot of our youth don't come through JDC or the Mary Haven Youth Center. They are youth that are living out in the community. Some of the youth do. Some of them we get to know through the detention center and through Mary Haven Youth Center. But no, some and most are actually living out in the communities with their families and are experiencing some challenges, whether that's in a school setting, whether that's finding a job, whatever it may be. So they come to us from all different avenues.
What are the age limits of the children you help?
Most of the kids that we work with are anywhere from, say, 8, 9, 10-year-olds, if we're looking at truancy and some family issues, all the way up to the age of 18 and a little bit past that. We've had several requests for youth that are 18 and turning 18 and then getting ready to live out on their own in their life. Which does present a lot of challenges for any regular 18-year-old, but some of the youth that we deal with have some extra challenges. So we're helping them transition into adulthood. But normally about 18 is the oldest.
Well, what do you provide for them? How do you help them?
Sure. And it may be best explained giving you some examples. A lot of times it may just be funding and revenue for them in different areas. But some simple requests that we have, we'll send kids to camps for the summer, those kids that maybe didn't have an opportunity to go to camp. We have bought glasses. We've bought computers for school. We had a young man that was working mowing grass and his lawnmower quit working or was destroyed, so we bought him a new lawnmower. We had some other youth that were having a challenge as far as school attendance. And what we found out when we got to the root cause of it, they were experiencing and battling with lice. So the little girls couldn't come to school. So we helped with a family. We took those two young girls to the salon, had their hair treated. We put the family in a hotel for a couple days while we washed all of their bedding, their clothing, all of those kind of things. So we could get rid of that barrier and they were able to get back in school. So the expenditures can come in all forms of examples, but typically they're financial requests that we receive then that help overcome some of those barriers that they're facing.
Where do the funds come from that you help these kids?
Sure. So they all come from private donations. We are a nonprofit 501(c)(3) So all of the monies coming in are purely through donations. A lot of those come from donations in Warren County. Some come from wonderful organizations like the Optimist Club. They have been a great collaborative partner with us for a number of years, but all from public donations or private and public donations.
Well, Laura gave us a perfect segue, Tammy. Tell us about the Optimist Club and how they help the council.
Well, we think that what the John McClain Advisory Council does for the youth in Warren County is just an invaluable service. We are so proud to have been and continue to be a supporter of the organization. These youth are often under-recognized and underserved, so it's been our privilege to help these youth. Now, what we're doing to assist with the John McClain Foundation, we are going to have a fundraising event on January 27th here in town. We want to try to raise some funds to help this through the next year. If you'd like more information, you can go to our website, LebanonOptimist.com. It's going to be a fun night out in support of a wonderful organization, and we're so proud to be a part of it. We'd love to see the community come out and just support the John McClain Advisory Council and what they provide for the youth in this community.
Oh, that's great. That is absolutely great. Laura, how many kids do you normally help a year?
It all depends. I mean, some years it can be 15 youth. Depending on what all of the requests are. Like I said, we try to send a handful of youth to camp every summer, so that could be 5, 6, 7, upwards of 10, and then we get other requests throughout the year. So it just depends, but I would say a good average would be somewhere between 10 and 15 families and youth.
Now, how many members are on the council?
Let's see. We have a president, a vice president, a secretary, treasurer, and then 1, 2, 3, about a handful of trustees. So at any given, meeting, we'll have, upwards of about 8 individuals there.
Now, if somebody wanted to assist the council with donations, how do they go about that?
Absolutely. They can reach us in a couple different ways. We have a website, McClainAdvisoryCouncil.org, and then they can also send a direct email if they want at johnmcclainadvisorycouncil@yahoo.com. And those would all be answered either from myself or one of our secretary or board members.
Now, is the court actually involved? Well, you do work for the court system.
I do.
Are other members of the court system involved on the council?
There are some other court members that do sit in different trustee positions, and then we have other individuals that are out from the community. Like currently right now we have a trustee from the Sheriff's Department, from the Educational Service Center, another gentleman who's just in private industry. So we come from all walks of life on the council.
And you assist people from all around the county, is that correct?
We do, yes, all Warren County, yes. Yeah.
Is there anything else we should tell the folks about the John McClain Advisory Council? Because I must confess, I knew little about this.
Yeah. And I must say too, I mean, we don't do large promotions. We're kind of one of those organizations that go about our day and, try to fulfill the needs of the county. But with the great support of the Optimist Club, I would just encourage everybody to go to the Lebanon Optimist Club webpage, look at the fundraising event that's coming up, because it'll be so extremely beneficial for our organization with their support. So I'm hoping a lot of people will turn out for the night.
Well, as an old history teacher, I hope this brings more interest into who John McClain was.
Yes.
Because as we were talking, he was considered the presidential material at least 2 times.
He
if not
was,
more.
to my knowledge, and some research that I've seen. I mean, he basically was just Abraham Lincoln won out over him. So I guess if you're
Yeah.
going to lose to anybody, I guess President Lincoln is
Well,
a good one
and that
too.
was at the second Republican convention.
Yeah.
4 years earlier, he came in second for the presidency under a man named John C. Fremont.
Mm-hmm.
And one of his kids became a general during the Civil War,
Mm-hmm.
and his daughter married the brother of President Zachary Taylor.
I have heard that
Yeah,
before.
so-
Yes, you guys have some great history on him. You have a great bust at the Historical
yes, we
Society,
do.
which we're hoping that you let us use at this fundraising event in January. And then we have a beautiful portrait of him hanging in one side of the one of the courtrooms at the
Yes,
juvenile
yes.
court.
I remember it. Is that the one that used to be in the Silver Street courtroom?
I'm
courthouse?
not sure where it came from, but
Yeah.
it's hung in one of our courtrooms
Yeah.
now for quite some time, and it's a great portrait of him.
Yeah, and he, as I mentioned, Tom Corwin, and Jeremiah Morrow, prior to the Civil War, served our county, our state, and our nation well. And unfortunately, he's the lesser known of the 3. But hopefully, this will.
Yeah, maybe bring some attention
Yes,
to him.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great program. Tammy, thank you for representing the Optimist Club and talking about how we can support the program. And Laura, thank you for informing me and our viewers all about what the Advisory Council does. I
Well,
wish
thanks
you
for
the best
having
of
us.
success.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
we'll be right back. Hi, and welcome back. Our next guest is Darren Owens, the Director of Public Works for the City of Lebanon. Welcome back, Darren.
Yep, thanks. Always glad to be here.
Now, we were talking just a second ago. The leaf collection is still going on.
It's still going on. It usually with our schedule kind of takes us right in close to the Christmas time frame. But we did have a leaf vac down for a couple weeks, so that kind of, when you have only one leaf vac doing all the routes, that kind of puts us a little bit behind. So we will eventually get to everything, get it done. Once they do the final sweep, they always like to try to do like a complete final sweep of the city wide, and they'll kind of go and they'll try to hit all the routes one more time.
But you're here to talk about the next issue.
Oh yeah, the next issue. It's the fluffy white stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, how does the city prepare for the fluffy white stuff?
So pretty much what we do is we kind of start putting the plows and then the salt boxes on the trucks probably around in October. We kind of start putting them on in there. Of course, we make sure we got salt barn, and we got to make sure that we got our beat heat in the tanks, and then we'll be ready to go.
Now, how many plows does the city have?
We've got 10 of the larger trucks that kind of handles the bigger routes, and we got like 1 ton and half-ton trucks that we put plows on and do like the parking lots and everything.
Do all the trucks also have the salt and the beet heat?
The only trucks that have that are the bigger dump trucks.
Okay.
Those are the only ones that have that.
Okay, and when does the city start really, I understand you have somebody on standby.
We do, correct. So
How
pretty
does
much,
that work?
So what we do is, of course, we watch the weather channels. We got 4 different weather channels. Most of the time, they're different. So you try to combine. If it looks like we're going to have more than an inch, if they say 1 inch to 3 inches, something like that, say okay, we're probably going to be plowing. So we will have the individual on standby. They will come in about 2 hours before the storm's supposed to hit. So what they'll do is they'll drive. They'll go hit our bridges. Make sure our bridges aren't icing up. They'll go to like our treble hills where we have some subdivisions, got some steeper hills. They'll kind of probably throw some salt down like that. They'll keep an eye on the weather. Once the snow starts hitting, they will go ahead and call that person on standby. Will then call the rest of the crew to come in.
How many crews is there one crew or multiple crews?
Most of our snow events can be done with one crew, which is basically the streets division in Public Works, so it's streets, parks, and cemetery, all those staff members. If it looks like it's going to be like a 2-day event, or like it goes past that, we can't get it done in the first 16 hours, then we will have a second crew added, and then we'll take that second crew and kind of go back and forth. So in all reality, we'll need about 20 people.
Now, you were saying you pay attention to weather stations. Is it local TV or is it the Weather Channel? Or
It is. I don't kind of like to stay away from the Weather Channel because they're more like national.
Yeah.
We try to keep track of our local channels here. We do have some great meteorologists here in the area. So we kind of watch that. We are also connected to the Ohio Department of Transportation. They will send us weather according to their local weather thing there, and we'll kind of pay attention to that. We'll just try to mash it all together.
Now, we both used the words beet heat. Is that a commercial product?
It is. Basically what it is, it's beet juice. So it's basically liquid sugar and liquid calcium chloride. It's mixed together. We put that, we don't do a brine solution. We don't put it down before snow. We actually have tanks next to our salt trucks, or in the salt bin in the trucks. We got tanks in there, and we add that to the salt in the spinner as it's going out onto the snow. Is what the beet heat does is it kind of increases the intensity of the salt to do its melting, and then it kind of also it kind of decreases the refreezing of the snow when we melt it and the ice when we melt it. It kind of slows the refreeze down before it gets too cold to where it can hopefully get it plowed off.
Now, salt only has a window in which it's good. If it
Correct.
goes too cold, it doesn't work, right?
Once we get down below 20 degrees, that's when things that get a little bit more fun to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, how many miles does the city take care of?
We've got about 180 lane miles.
Now, I saw that phrase and I figured out what it means. We have less than 180 miles, but many of these roads have multiple lanes.
Correct.
So you have to go over them again.
We kind of hit every lane. So technically, when you go into a subdivision, you have two lanes. You got one going this way, one going that way. Of course, on Columbus Avenue, you've got different lanes there. Bypass 48, you got different lanes there.
Now, you also do the alleys, is that correct?
We do. Pretty much what we do is we hit all of our priority streets first.
Yeah.
So that's going to be Bypass 48, Columbus Avenue, Broadway, Main Street, some of our main bigger thoroughfares like East Street. That is basically to get those cleared so people can get to and from work. That's kind of the main thing, and plus to make sure that our ambulances and fire trucks and police vehicles can make their emergency repairs. We focus on those first. Most of the time, our crews, the way that they're broken up, they also have subdivisions. So they may make a pass in the subdivision very early just to put some salt down, just so if the snow does hit it, it'll kind of make it a little bit easier to break up when it comes in. So we hit those priorities first, we get those cleared, then we move into the subdivisions. So that'll be the main streets and the subdivisions, cul-de-sacs, and then once we do that, that's when the alleys and the parking lots and everything will get hit.
Now, most people, when they're driving around town, probably don't think there's a lot of hills in town, but once you think about it, there are.
There are.
Now, I know the Broadway Hill in front of the fairgrounds, that's one being a primary road, you do
Yes,
that.
correct.
But what about the Broadway Hill coming down from Floraville Hill or South Mechanic? Does that get a little extra attention?
It does. Whenever there's a chance for a car to slide down the hill and not be able to stop, those are the ones we try to just get the ice down. We concentrate on those first. And then, of course, we've got the hill coming down 63 now, which now belongs to us because we annexed for the Parkside
That's
development.
right, that's right.
So now we have that. But I know that I have spoken with ODOT and their local crews here, and they say that most of the time, if their guys are coming through the area, since they're on their route already, they'll go ahead and they kind of keep track of it as well, because that one there is I will say that one's the big problem hill there, is that one.
Yeah. Now, what can citizens do to help you and prepare?
Be patient. If it's calling for snow, if there's cars parked on the street, if you can get them in your driveway, that would be fantastic, especially in cul-de-sacs. Now, granted, that's one of the last things that we do, but a lot of times when our guys go in there, a cul-de-sac will be completely filled with cars. You got nowhere to put the snow, so they really can't do anything.
Yeah.
They just kind of got to go in. The one thing that everybody can be prepared of is that since subdivisions are the last one to get hit, more than likely 90% of everybody's going to have their driveways plowed, or they're going to have them snow blowed, they're going to have the snow out, they can get in and out of their driveway. Well, more than likely when the plow truck comes by, they're going to get a nice little riff of snow kind of placed in front of their driveway. Some people come out and say that's okay. Other people will come out, they'll be a little agitated, which I get it. Happens to me every time.
Yeah.
So just kind of be patient. We will get there sooner or later. We'll get it taken care of.
Now, speaking of subdivisions, there are subdivisions in town, correct me if I'm wrong, which are not the city's responsibility. They are the homeowners association?
There are some here that have basically their private streets inside the subdivision. If there is a subdivision that is under construction, I think right now, the Autumn Ridge subdivision, so that's one off Neil Armstrong Way, they just got their final course of asphalt put down on the entire subdivision, so we will now plow that. If you have a subdivision that is under construction, they don't have the top surface course of asphalt on yet, that will be the developer's responsibility to do that during a snow response.
Do you ever get calls from people who think you should be plowing them, but it's not your responsibility?
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
Well, if people do want to get in contact with you, how do they do that?
They can get on my, they can shoot me an email. It's dowens@lebanonohio.gov. We also have a website you can go to. My email address is there. You can call me on my office phone there, 513-228-3701.
Now, on some of the big weather events we have in the winter, is it 24 hours sometimes for some crew members?
We try to limit our staff when they're in the truck to about 16 hours. We don't like to go over that because once it's kind of where you kind of start getting a little bit tired. So if we get into the larger storm events, we do what we can to break it down to 2 12-hour shifts. That way we have enough time for people to go home, get their rest, come back in, get a little bit to eat and everything like that. So I think it's been quite some time since we've had to go for longer than 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
So where's the wood? I need to look for the wood after making that statement. So.
Well, Darren, is there anything else we should let the people know about the snow season coming and the city's responsibility and theirs?
Well, we could say we're looking lucky. I mean, all the meteorologists are saying that the El Nino is coming in. We're going to be warmer. We may not have a lot of snow this year, but then again, knock on wood, there's a chance that we're going to get a lot of snow. You never know. Best thing is just be patient. It may not look like you haven't been there in a while, but more than likely while you were sleeping, somebody has been in your subdivision.
Yeah.
You just didn't see it, so just be patient.
Well, Darren, thank you, and thank the crews for the city and for all they do to make our lives better here in Lebanon.
Yep. The nice thing to know is we have a crew in Streets Park Cemetery. This is what they like to do. This is their job, and they like to prove themselves. So.
Okay. Well, thanks again.
Will do. No problem. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. Well, you have a good week, and we'll see you next time, and I'll see you around town.